And we're going to get into our Debonaire Ideal segment, sponsored by Debonaire House, makers of the Debonaire and Indian Motorcycle Ultra Premium cigars. And this is kind of where we take a little, we kind of kick it back a bit. It's kind of the halftime, so to speak, of the show. And the Debonaire Ideal is where we just connect things those experiences you have maybe over sharing a cigar with someone. Or maybe it's something related to cigars. But the idea is, you go into a cigar lounge, there's always something you're talking about. And we try to share some of those things in the Debonaire Ideal segment. I don't know how I came up with this one. Right.
This should be
really,
good.
Fred, I don't know how I came up with this one. But bacon. Bacon.
I've heard of it.
I mean, Fred, are you a fan of bacon, Fred?
I believe we may have been separated at birth. I'm not sure the actual DNA structure of it. I'm not a scientist, but yeah, I mean, I like bacon. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, anybody that follows me on social media, yeah, I mean, I just bacon's good. I mean, and it makes everything better. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. This is such the oddest conversation.
I don't know. Yeah, but I got to go somewhere with this, and this is not going to be Debonaire. This is not going to be Debonaire, but I'm going to apologize. So there's this thing called Canadian bacon.
I believe you mean the bastard ham, but okay, yeah.
It's not bacon.
It's not bacon.
It's not bacon, John. I'm sorry. It's not bacon. It's like sliced ham.
I mean, we can get into this because when you were talking about bacon, so naturally when the conversation turns to bacon, I've had this conversation more times than I can count. So when Coop was telling me we're going to do Debonaire bacon, I preemptively prepared 2 pages on the history of Canadian bacon and why it's a complete fabrication and invention that has nothing to do with Canadian bacon. And then when you told me that, there was going to be a mention of Canadian bacon, I said, aha, I knew it. But yeah, of course, Canadian bacon has nothing to do with Canada at all.
But it has nothing to do with bacon either, though, does it?
Well, it really bacon either.
Well, okay, so
enlighten us.
I'll touch on it a little bit. So this actually goes back almost 200 years, believe it or not. And it goes back so far that the history of Canadian bacon is a little bit lost through time. That's how old it is. But the story that I could get. So first of all, there's no such thing as Canadian bacon. Canadian bacon is bacon that's been brined, and we call it pea meal bacon, which is not what Americans refer to as bacon, as Canadian bacon. We don't have what you refer to as Canadian bacon. If you come up here and say I'd like Canadian bacon, you're gonna get pea meal bacon. And this goes back to the Victorian days when there was a shortage of bacon in the UK, and being the good ambassadors of bacon that we are, Canada was shipping millions and millions of pounds of bacon to the United Kingdom. And as the story goes, during World War I, they ran out of smoked bacon from Ireland. And so what they needed to do, I mean, this is marketing 101. So they basically put out front of the shops, we now have Canadian bacon. And it was just bacon, but they called it Canadian bacon. Now, I don't know if that's kind of where that terminology came to the United States, but now sort of what is referred to as Canadian bacon in the States, we kind of shrug our shoulders and go, we have no idea what you're talking about, because it's just not a thing. It's like people refer to corned beef as being the classic Irish dish, but if you go to Ireland, they have no idea what you're talking about, because there's no corned beef. They don't have corned beef.
So if I take a visit to Calgary and I want a cheeseburger, right?
Mm-hmm.
A bacon cheeseburger. I can get like bacon. I'm not going to get Canadian bacon on my cheeseburger.
So first of all, as a a good and international ambassadors that we are, we love bacon, and we love bacon so much that we have tried to push the envelope of what is bacon with delicious things like maple bacon and whiskey bacon and peppered bacon and peppered maple whiskey bacon. But if you were to order a burger, a sandwich with bacon, you would get bacon, the typical normal bacon that you would get if you ordered down in the United States. There'd be no difference whatsoever.
Well, there you go, guys. Canadian bacon isn't even good enough for the Canadians.
Yeah, and by the way, you only get this information on the primetime show. John, that was awesome, by the way. I didn't know. That is a very good, that was really good preparedness there.
By the way, if you ever have the chance, to try P-meal bacon, it's actually fantastic because essentially instead of smoking the bacon, they brine it, and the brining process cures the bacon. I mean, it's outstandingly tasty. I mean, smoked bacon is good as well, but P-meal bacon is it's special.
I wonder, now Fred, I don't know, is the P-meal bacon what they call Canadian bacon? That is John, I should say as well. Is all of it P-meal bacon, you think, or some of it just looks like sliced ham when I see it?
I mean, I don't know. John has to give us a reference. Have you seen Canadian bacon as we describe it?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times, like sliced or back bacon or is common.
The back bacon. I've heard that term.
Yeah, so we would call that back bacon. But I would never order a dish and get that as a part of any breakfast or lunch. Or that's just not something you would get. P-meal bacon is something you'd get, but you normally have to request it. Like if you order, bacon and eggs, you get bacon. You can ask for P-meal bacon, and sometimes you can get P-meal bacon. You can ask for, back bacon, but you'd probably get a polite but disapproving stare from the waiter or waitress. Polite but disapproving.
What bacon is on an Egg McMuffin in Canada?
That is an excellent question because I haven't had an egg, but I think it's P-meal bacon on an egg.
Really? So there's a Canadian Egg McMuffin.
We're getting closer. Although we don't know until he smuggles one down for IPCPR from a McDonald's up there and settle the argument.
I can neither confirm nor deny to the border agents that I would be smuggling food. Anything said on the show does not represent the truth of my travel habits.
No, I mean, I probably don't eat bacon as much as people think I eat bacon. It's just it's an easy target for me to play with. But I do like bacon, and I do eat a lot of bacon. And the fact that it ended up in companies sending me bacon to try and post it on social media if I like it, I'm willing to go along with that. I'm willing to run with that. So,
that's a good gig.
Did I educate my daughter on bacon? Yeah, I remember we were in a Coeur d'Alene resort in Idaho that has a really nice Sunday buffet, and we're going around, and my daughter, who was very little at the time, she comes around the buffet. We're still in the buffet area, and she comes around. She's got a plate with 5-6 pieces of bacon on there, and she's like, "I got bacon." And she's like, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Where'd you get that?" And she says, "Right here." And she points to the little placard in front of the bacon that says "regular bacon." And I said, "Oh," "that's a rookie mistake." And she says, "Why?" I said, "What does that sign say?" And she says, "regular bacon." And I said, "That implies there's better bacon somewhere around here." So we go to the other side of the buffet, and they had maple peppered bacon.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
She's like, "Can I put it back?" And I'm like, "Nope, you blew it."
Now, Coop, you've been to Cuba before.
I have.
You've had and there's a lot of Cuban food I really enjoy, but I think one of the failures in Cuba is when they try to make Western food. And if you've ever had "quote unquote" bacon at the breakfast buffet in Cuba, I mean, you just kind of, it looks like bacon, but it's not cooked, and you're not, it's kind of got the general shape of bacon, but you're not quite sure it was a big thing because I'm an extra crispy bacon. Absolutely.
I mean, I like that bacon extra crisp. That was the big notice. I mean, you said that. Yeah, I didn't know if it was the place I was at, but yeah.
No, the only time I can get pig done properly is when they put it in the ground or when they do the quarter suckling pig. But if you go for the breakfast buffet, and you're really digging, you're really hoping for that morning after bacon, you're going to be sorely disappointed because you look at it and you're like, can you just put that in your frying pan for another 10 or 15 minutes before I eat it? Because I'm not quite sure it's ready for me just yet. I think it might have moved in the pan there.
Well, we have discovered in the States, and I've only found one place that does it, and I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of tweets tomorrow, people telling me other places. But Fort Worth, there's a barbecue place called Heim, and they do bacon burnt ends. And oh my God, they are like last time I went, I get a half pound of brisket and a half pound of bacon burnt ends. And there's a circle of guys, you know, Brian McGee, who's Crown Heads, Ben, who is our rep, and several other guys that every time we're there, it's like we're going and getting bacon burnt ends. And matter of fact, I saw Omar with Fratello was just there like yesterday. And he's like, oh my God, I just discovered bacon burnt ends. And I'm like, welcome to the club. You know, I mean, it really is good.
I think my blood pressure just went up 20 points just hearing you describe it.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's definitely the arteries are clogging, and you know it's and I get tagged on everything bacon now.
I know you do.
I mean, so it's like, so this stuff's showing up on my wall like left and right, and I'm like, oh great, now I know what I'm making this weekend. You know, I literally made one. What was it? I made it at the Super Bowl. It was literally like someone tagged me on one of those stupid like food videos, you know, where they just shoot the food being put together. I'm like, crap, now I got to go buy this and make this weekend. And Super Bowl was literally something that was like, you got, I'm going to get it wrong, but it was basically just like the Pillsbury like dough that comes in the can that pops. Yep. And then you spread that out, and you take bacon that you cook and maple syrup, and you just like pour it all over it. Then you put it in the oven and toast it up, and then you cut it up into squares, and it's delicious.
It's like a pizza. So, it's like a pizza.
Yeah, it's like a bacon.
But maple syrup with a sauce.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's like making maple bacon, which maple bacon is great. So, but you know, now I get tagged all this stuff, and I'm like, oh great. Now I know what I'm making this weekend. You know, so.
I think the greatest, one of the greatest bacon concoctions I ever saw was you take this giant wheel or whatever of smoked cheddar, and you essentially form a lattice of bacon around the cheddar, and then you put the entire thing in your oven. I mean, absolutely a heart attack in a picture, but I would, the fat boy inside of me would absolutely tear that up. No question.
Definitely.
Definitely. I agree with that. How about bacon jerky? You guys like bacon jerky?
I like it.
I like it too. I like it too, even though it's not extra crispy. I do like it.
No, but I tend to lean towards maple bacon jerky.
You like that maple, yeah.
Yeah, I like it and when you're talking the jerky, I like the maple bacon jerky, and actually it's great because I'll be on the road and I'll be at an event, and like people bring me bacon stuff. You know, like I've got bacon peanut butter, bacon jelly, bacon T-shirts. I got a Body by Bacon shirt, which is awesome. I've got people bring me bacon jerky, and I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I literally showed up at one place, like, we know you're a rider for the event, and I had double stuffed Oreos and bacon maple jerky, you know, and I'm like, I like this place. I'm going to try and sell cigars for you.
Why is bacon so expensive? It's like fat, but you notice it's expensive? It isn't cheap.
No, it's not. It's not. You know, I mean, my thing is I'll go to the grocery store and there's like a couple brands I like, and they'll do like the little BOGO on them and stuff like that. So I'll like buy a bunch of it, and then my wife will check out and there's not any more. And then I go and I get a rain check, and the guy's like, you know, you're allowed to get so many. He's like, are we out of the bacon? I'm like, yeah. And he says, well, how many were you going to get? And I'm like, 12.
What do you guys pay for? You know, because I bet the price is going to alarm me. But what do you guys typically pay for? You know, a package of bacon, which for us is usually like a half pound of bacon, typically.
Like $8.
Okay, so pretty similar. Yeah.
I don't know if that's quite half a pound though, but and then when you cook it, it's like 2 ounces.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, and think about what the price it is. You buy a burger; it's like $1 for 2 strips of bacon.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's what is your favorite thing to use bacon on other than eggs? Like, just take the eggs thing out of it. What's the best thing you have bacon on?
Bacon on? That's a good question, because I kind of like bacon just straight up, but
pairing it.
I like it on a burger, but then I just recently, like 2 years ago, had I was somewhere and they did like a Kobe burger with bacon and then like an egg on it. And I've seen the egg thing on burgers before, and I'm like, I just don't get it. I mean,
I don't get that either. Yeah.
Well, then I had one, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. So I don't know. I don't know that my like you put it in a salad, it's just a game of find the bacon.
Yeah.
Which is Jim Gaffigan's line. So I just like good thick cut, sometimes maple bacon or whatever, or peppered bacon, just straight up bacon. I don't know that anything that you put it on is like I'm trying to taste the bacon. Anything else is getting in the way.
A good one. John, how about you?
I think for me, because, I do come from a cooking background, and this is probably blasphemous, but you cook up bacon in a pan, you take the bacon out, you chop it up, and then you leave the fat in the pan, and you do Brussels sprouts diced in the pan.
I've had that. Yeah. Oh,
I mean, Brussels sprouts aren't exactly golden. I mean, they're, very divisive vegetable, but when you get bacon fat on the Brussels sprouts and then you put the bacon in with the Brussels sprouts, I'll tell you, I would eat 15 pounds of Brussels sprouts. It's delicious.
I don't make that here because I haven't found Brussels sprouts here in Guatemala, but I do make that in the States, and I probably make that at least once a week, if not every 2 weeks for sure. And it's funny because my wife doesn't like Brussels sprouts, but if I make it like that, she's like, "This is really good," and she's healthy. I'm like, "Yeah, not so much." But it's delicious.
Yeah, water. A lot of water.
No, and I actually, for me, it's those little cocktail hot dog hors d'oeuvres wrapped in the bacon, and got to get it real crisp.
Wrapped in the bacon, yeah.
Right, but it's got to be real crisp. I've had it where it's like semi. I don't want to say raw, but it's kind of not crisp. It's got to be crisp. So you got to stick the toothpick in there. I could just pop those and gain 40 pounds like in one night with that.
It's a pain to make. By the way, on the Pillsbury dough thing, I left out brown sugar. I just remember that was one of the things on there, which was reminding me of basically a version of vermaki that is bacon wrapped chicken livers with, and then you put brown sugar on it and you bake it in the oven. Which is delicious, but you gotta like chicken livers. So
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, anytime you compare bacon with another meat, I mean, there's no meat that is not enhanced by the addition of bacon. Whether that's fish, whether that's chicken, whether that's a steak. I mean, the greatest thing in the world is a sirloin steak that's like latticed in bacon. I mean, animals colliding. It's delicious.
But when we're talking bacon, no turkey bacon.
No.
I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Do you remember they had this thing? You guys may remember. I don't know if they had in Canada, but Fred, you remember that it was called sizzling?
Oh yeah. The healthy
artificial bacon. Yeah.
It was like bacon product. It was. Yeah.
No, and we had like tofu bacon, and like tofu. It's just like I don't dislike tofu. Just stop trying to pretend to be something else.
Exactly.
Just tofu you are. Be tofu. Put it in the miso soup or whatever you put it in. But don't pretend you're something else.
No, exactly.
And I don't dislike turkey bacon, by the way.
I dislike it. Yeah.
It's not bacon. Just eat it, but don't pretend it's bacon.
Don't pretend. It's to me, turkey bacon is the raisins of the baking industry. When you always bite into expecting those delicious chocolate chips, turkey bacon is that. You're expecting to bite into bacon, and all you're left with is emptiness and rage.
No, I think that's a very good analogy.
I like raisins.
Yeah, I like them too in a little red box. They're very delicious, or oatmeal cookies.
Yep.
Raisin oatmeal cookies. That's it.
Yeah. I know we're diverging a bit, but when I get a heavy raisin note on a cigar, it's usually a sign the cigar's not ready.
Interesting.
When it's more subtle and it's a subtle sweetness, that's usually when I find that's when it's good. But if it's an overpowering, heavy raisin, to me, the cigar's a little unbalanced at that point.
Yeah, I'm not. We've talked about it, I think, on the shows before. I'm not one of those guys that has that palate that gets the 7 million different flavors of, boysenberries from the south part of the hill and stuff like that. I don't get a lot of raisins and currant and stuff like that. The only one that comes close to me is the añejo shark on a dry inhale, and then just smoking it. I do tend to get some of that kind of currant kind of raisin flavor for me. But generally, I don't pick up that tone.
No. You're talking about Brazilian Arapiraca. Sorry to cut you off, Coop. You're talking about Brazilian Arapiraca, I think, earlier Fred, and that's actually tobacco that I do get like a really nice, subtle, sweet stewed raisin off of. And for me, it's unmistakable to the point where now I naturally associate that raisiny flavor with Brazilian tobacco, even though it's, tends to only be the Arapiraca for me.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
I could see that as well too. I could definitely see that as well. Okay, so what we'll do is we will wrap up this edition of the Debonaire Ideal.